Hi, good afternoon, everyone. A big thank you for joining our conversation this afternoon. I want to say a very big thank you to Mrs. Agnes Gifty Ejay-Sam, who has already joined, who happens to be one of our speakers for today. Honorable Sita Sofo-Hisan has also joined us, who is also one of our guest speakers, and our speakers are already here with us. And fortunately, we have some participants who have already joined. I would want to officially say that you are all welcome. Thank you so much. Even before we start the conversation, we're going to run a fast poll and before we start the entire conversation. But our conversation today is actually based on the broad theme, economic inclusion, accelerating the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. And we're basically going to have a conversation regarding AfCFTA, the hot cake in town, the conversation that everybody's talking about. But we would want to know how knowledgeable our participants are, whether they already know about the AfCFTA or they are yet to hear about it. Unfortunately, we don't have so many participants here at the moment. Hopefully, most of them get to join us with time. And so maybe before they join, let me just do a quick introduction of the organization that is putting this webinar together. I must be sure that everybody can hear me. Please, if you can hear me, let me know. Okay, if you can hear me, please let me know. This is Ejay-Sam. Am I audible? Sita, can you hear me? You can hear me.
Yes, you are very audible. I can see you, I can hear you.
Fantastic. It's good to see your faces. This is Ejay-Sam. We can't wait to hear all the nuggets that you have on export readiness. All right, so quickly, for those of you who already follow us, you know that West Lion Co. is an entrepreneurship hub. And let me quickly share the flyer with us. Okay, give me a few minutes. Let me share the flyer we have with us. Okay, so those of you have already seen this flyer. Yes, this is the flyer that gives every detail concerning the webinar we're about to have today, the dialogue we're having today. And it's on economic inclusion, like I mentioned earlier, accelerating the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. You can see the logo, which is West Lion Co. And as I was mentioning, those of you who have been following us for some time now, you know that West Lion Co. is an entrepreneurship hub and a female venture builder that helps accelerate the growth of African female businesses through capacity building, through engaging in dialogues like these, fundraising support, mentorship, exposure, etc., and all that has to do with helping beef up the African female entrepreneur to do better in their enterprises. Some of the things that we do, I already mentioned, we are into mentorship, we're into capacity building. And so this webinar falls under one of the events that we do, which is the virtual event. It helps us to be able to garner the thoughts and insights from experts, people who have been in the field and people who are doing a lot of things to help entrepreneurs in Africa give excellent delivery of their services or their products. And so basically why we are here today, if you're here and you're not aware that we have a female entrepreneurs community, let me take this moment to talk a little bit about that. So the West Lion Co. has a female entrepreneurs community under its wings. And so what we do with this community is that we are able to give them trainings, we are able to give them the required capacity building programs that they need to be able to gather the knowledge to build their businesses. If you're female here and you're not part of our female entrepreneurs community, and it's something that you would be interested in joining, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, either via LinkedIn, either via email, even via phone, to let me know that you want to be a part of it. Once again, I want to say a very big thank you to you for joining this webinar. We will not wait for the others again. What we're going to do is that we are first of all going to run the poll, because we want to know, number one, your knowledge of the African Continental Free Trade Area. We also want to know where you are joining us from. And so quickly, I'm going to run the poll. Okay. So I have just launched the poll. It's going to run for a few seconds, probably 1 minute or two. We just want a few answers. We want to know the kind of people we are dealing with here today, because our speakers would have to know the people they are dealing with, so that they know how much they have to share to enable our participants to leave this webinar with enough insight about the African Continental Free Trade Area. And so the first question is talking about, have you ever heard of the African Continental Free Trade Area? Feel free to say no if you haven't done that yet. If you haven't heard of it, it's okay, let us know. If you have, let us know. And then you want to rate your knowledge of the above, your knowledge of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Probably you've heard about it. However, you don't really know what it's all about. All you hear is that from the left, people are talking about African Continental Free Trade Area. From the right, you hear the same conversation and you're wondering, what exactly is AfCFTA all about? Okay, I see people responding. Some say they have low knowledge about it. Others say they have medium knowledge about it. 14% are saying that they have high knowledge about it. Okay, currently most of our people joining us are joining us from West Africa. Okay, fantastic. All right, so in just about 10 seconds, I'm going to end the poll. And so if you're just joining us, please make sure that you join the poll, okay? Few seconds more. All right, so we end the poll. Let's share the results of the poll. Okay, so at the end of the day, I'm sure all of us can see the results of the polls, the poll that we run. We had everybody here at the moment has heard of the African Continental Free Trade Area. That is in fact fantastic, knowing that all our people have heard about it. Now, the second question that says, rate your knowledge of the above, we had 14% saying that they have very low knowledge about it. We had 71% saying that they have moderate information about the African Continental Free Trade Area. And then we have another 14% saying they are pretty much knowledgeable about the above. That's okay. All right, thank you so much for running the polls with us. I'm going to stop sharing the poll results right now. Okay. Okay, so thank you very much. I'm sure our speakers have taken cognizance of the percentages that we are dealing with today. And so I'm hoping that it will guide them to be able to dispense the knowledge of everything they are about to share with us here today. First of all, the main objective of this webinar is to provide a platform to exchange views and knowledge and insights and information on ways and means to fully harness the potentials of the African Continental Free Trade Area. And for most of you, you know about the African Union and the Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. And particularly concerning this agenda, Agenda 2063, the African Union came out with this very potent strategy that is the African Continental Free Trade Area, as a way of accelerating economic inclusion in Africa, being able to present Africa as a unit or as a formidable front, even to the other parts of the world, and how they are going to be able to strengthen intra-Africa trade. And so basically while we are here, most of you here have businesses, others are working in companies, but wherever you work or whoever you are, I believe that as far as you remain on the continent of Africa, this conversation is very much important, and it relates to you as much as it does to me. And so I would ask that every one of us give or pay key attention to the speakers. I'm going to quickly allow our speakers to first of all say a hello to the participants before I introduce the first speaker. And so I would want Mrs. Agnes Gifty Ejeisam to say hello to the participants before I go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank Gifty so much for the opportunity. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Let me show my picture as well. I want to thank everyone for the opportunity given to me to share my thoughts on this all-important subject. As Gifty said, my name is Agnes Gifty Ejeisam. I work with Ghana Export Promotion Authority as the director in charge of market development and market promotion. And then the issue of getting ready for export is very important for us, because if you are not ready for exports and you venture into it, you may burn your fingers. And so one of the key things on our heart is to help people to become export ready. And we are happy about this topic because the African market is very important for us. And like Gifty said in her introductory remarks, we all want to work towards the Africa that we want. And I always remember something our former Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry shared with us, that Africa is the best gift for Africans. And so it's better we work well to take advantage of this good gift for us. So thank you very much. I look forward to the next engagement.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Agnes Gifty Ejeisam. We're so grateful. Sita Sofo Hisan, if you could just also say a hello to our virtual audience, I would be much grateful.
Hi, my name is Prince Sita Sofo Hisan. I'm the president of the After Young Entrepreneurs Federation. I've been a banker. I'm a banker by profession, and then I've been working with youth across the African continent since 2018. And I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm the first person to set up a successful TV station in Northern Ghana, pushing me into entrepreneurship as well as the media angle, winning the youngest CEO in the media in Ghana. So I'm happy to be here with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that was Sita Sofo Hisan, president. Just like he said, he's the president of the Young Entrepreneurs Federation of AfTA. We are grateful and we're so thankful that we get to spend this afternoon with you together with Mrs. Agnes Gifty Ejeisam to discuss these very pertinent issues that are concerning our very own continent. Mrs. Agnes Gifty Ejeisam mentioned earlier, she happens to be the director of marketing and promotion at the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. I mean, those of you who are familiar with anything export know that when it comes to the subject of exporting stuff, Mrs. Ejeisam is top of the game. Even Dr. Ifwa Asabia would always testify to that. And we're so grateful to have these two experts here. We are quickly going to go into our conversation today. Like I said, people are going to join us along the line, but for now, we're diving deeper into the conversation already. Our first speaker, who happens to be the man who spoke, Sita Sofo Hisan, will be talking to us about economic inclusion, how to involve the youth and women in the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. He already mentioned that he was the first man to set up a TV station in Northern region that actually, let me say, accelerated his entrepreneurial adventure. And so I'll read a brief profile of him, and then quickly we'll leave him to discuss with us in a few minutes what he has to share, and then we can go ahead with our questions. After he's done, Mrs. Agnes Gifty-Jason would also come in to talk to us about export readiness, how to build competitive enterprises as Africans, as Ghanaians, as South Africans, as Kenyans, as Zambians, how we can actually take advantage of AfCFTA and then cause our products to travel beyond the borders of our existing countries. And so permit me to read a brief profile of Sita. Sita is a pace setter in entrepreneurship and youth advocacy development. In Ghana, he's known for that. Like he mentioned earlier, he's the first person to set up a successful television station in Northern Ghana, becoming the youngest CEO in Ghana media in the year 2018, 2017, and 2018. He wears many hats, including being the founding president of the AfCFTA Youth Entrepreneurs Federation. As president, he has worked and collaborated with entrepreneurs all over Africa. And I would say that the AfCFTA Young Entrepreneurs Federation is Africa's biggest network of young entrepreneurs. Is Africa's biggest network of young entrepreneurs, and he happens to be the president. He's a recipient of multiple awards, both locally and internationally, some of which include the winner of the Transformational Leadership Award from Kenya in 2022, the Merit Award winner from African Youth Summit in 2021, just to mention a few. Ladies and gentlemen, our virtual audience, I wish I could see you all, but even though I can see you, I would want us to give a resounding virtual applause to our first speaker, Sita Sofo-Kisan. Sita, your audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gifty, for having me. And I want to say hi to Miss Agnes. I think this is the second time I'm meeting him. The first time was when we were launching our either the After Women event, or there was a program at World Trade Center, launch of Alibaba, that I met him. I met her, sorry. So I'm glad to be here. Personally, I'm not a sweet talker. I don't like a lot of conversations, because in Africa, we normally measure the level of leaders by the way they talk. And sometimes we wonder why they don't perform, because people learn how to talk well, but when it comes to action, they normally do not deliver. So I don't want to be a very sweet talker. I want to be an action person. I want the action to speak for all of us and for everyone. Now, the issue, so I would want it to be a bit, not just a direct presentation, but very interactive. So at any point in time, if there's anybody who has a question or needs a clarification, person can raise a hand, and then I will allow the person to come in. Basically, the African Free Continental Trade Area, according to World Bank, is going to create about 100 million new jobs by 2035. That means that about 30 million Africans are going to be brought out of abject poverty, and about 70 million Africans are going to be brought out of moderate poverty. And these beneficiaries are certainly going to be women and youth of Africa. As we are all aware, Africa has about 450 million youth population, and that makes it the most youthful continent in the whole world. So that is telling us that we have biggest human resource when it comes to the youth of Africa. Now, the challenge is that most of these youths are highly unemployed. They are not given the seats in terms of decision making. They are not brought to the table to make decisions, and a whole lot. So when AfCFTA started, which is part of African Union Agenda 2063, we were asking a lot of questions as to how the women and youth of Africa are going to actively participate in the successful implementation of AfCFTA. As you are all aware, this year's motto being celebrated by the African Union is on the theme accelerating the implementation of AfCFTA, which is the African Free Continental Trade Area. And basically, how I explain the African Free Continental Trade Area is basically opening up the African markets for trade, free movement of goods and people from one African country to the other. And AfCFTA is also promoting locally made produce, because we've seen that Africa trades more with other countries outside the continent than within the continent, which is leading to most of our economic crisis. As such, we want to encourage local production and local consumption of our products and services, and even exporting across Africa and even outside Africa instead of importation. So basically, at our federation, we are pushing for women and youth to be able to take active part in the African Free Continental Trade Area. Just today, we had a meeting with AfCFTA Secretariat, and then it came out that the protocols for women and youth will be coming out before the end of the year. They're actually being worked on, and very soon they'll be out for us to look at. Now, we are looking at influencing policies, which is the protocols for women and youth at that continental level. That's the first area that we are looking at. The second thing that we are looking at is mobilization and sensitization of, I'm adding women and youth, sorry, because women and youth actually goes together. The protocols that we discussed when we went to Tanzania last year, September, it was for women and youth. They are going to protocols for women, they are going to protocols for youth. And somebody will ask, why are we talking about protocols for women and youth? It's similar to somebody asking that, why would we want a law? Because if the protocols are not there, it simply means that the women and youth participating in AfCFTA is not recognized. It simply means that the challenges that African women and youth faces are not going to be resolved and addressed. So it presupposes that the first point of inclusiveness of women and youth across Africa is to ensure that we are also involved in the constitution that is talking about how trade is going to be done across the African continent. That is the first stage. And the second stage will be that, how do you support women and youth to be able to trade across Africa? We have a proverb from our place who states that, Northern Ghana, who states that you don't invite the tortoise to eat and expecting the tortoise to wash its hands, or you don't ask the tortoise to go and wash the hands and come for you to eat. What it means is that everybody knows that the tortoise moves with the hands. So certainly, if the tortoise goes to the riverside or the pond to go and wash its hands and is coming, it will use the hand to walk back. So if you actually want the tortoise to eat with you, you just allow the tortoise to eat. What I mean by this is that if they say we should trade and they don't support women and youth to trade, it simply means that women and youth are not supposed to trade, because current regulations that exist in different African countries makes it difficult for a young African to get up, or a young African woman to get up and start their own business and succeed. Why? Because from the point go, the systems are not favorable. The amount they have to go to register their business, they need to register their businesses, the procedures for them to go to FDA, standard authority, to go and get all those approval and licensing, how to export their product out of the country. A young African entrepreneur or a young African or a student entrepreneur cannot be able to take care of all these costs. As such, it makes it very difficult for somebody to just get up and say, I want to do exporting, or I want to engage in trade. Even within our various African countries, it's very difficult. How much more talking about continental trade, where so much funds, so much regulations are being involved. So therefore, in talking about inclusiveness for women and youth, what we are doing is that as of last year, when the first event for women and youth was organized in Tanzania, hosted by the AfCFTA champion for women and youth, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, that is the president of Tanzania, we focus more on the challenges that women entrepreneurs faces, that youth entrepreneurs faces, and then how to resolve those challenges. That was basically where our focus was on. So we identified various challenges women in trade normally faces. And for your information, we are all aware that most of the cross-border trade is done by women. So this AfCFTA we are talking about is currently being driven by women. And as such, whether there's AfCFTA or not, our mothers will still go to Burkina Faso to go and buy tomatoes and stuff. Whether there's AfCFTA or not, our sisters and our aunties will still bring in ingredients from different African countries. So certainly the trade is actually happening. What we are talking about is how do we harmonize the trade? How do we make their work very easy for them? How do we ensure that these our relatives are not harassed at the various borders? How do we ensure uniformity? How do we make it easy for somebody not to pass through so many hurdles, so many borders, so many checkpoints just to import a product or whatever from different African countries? So this is what actually we are looking at, or what we looked at last year. So we're looking at the barriers to trade for women and youth. So various youth groups came up, and then we told them our mind and made them aware of the solution. But on top of these challenges, we saw that regulation was key, government regulations and policies. That's the reason why we hope that the protocols that are going to be recommended, or those that are going to come out, will be very favorable. And I'm happy with the work of the AfCFTA Secretary, because a lot of consultations has gone in and out. A lot of organizations have been consulted. A lot of inputs have been made to the protocol for women and youth. And as such, one can only be optimistic that the protocols are going to be very favorable. The other thing that I am, aside the maiden event that was organized in Tanzania, we also, just this year, we had AfCFTA Business Forum that was organized in Cape Town, South Africa. And it will interest you to know that most of the participants to this high-level event was actually women and youth. So a lot of input was made there as well concerning how women and youth can participate in AfCFTA. And the stakeholders were brought in, government and different financial stakeholders, they were all brought in to listen to the challenges and try to find solutions to them. Now, the next one that is being done by the AfCFTA Secretariat to include women and youth happens to be the AfCFTA Youth Forum. That is coming on next month in Zambia, Lusaka. A lot of efforts have been put in place. Unfortunately, I'm a member of the committee. What we are doing is that we're going to sponsor about 100 youth from different African countries to be able to participate in this particular event. The second thing we are going to do is that we are expecting that over 500 youth should be able to afford the trip to, aside those that are going to be sponsored, to come for the program. We are also looking for more sponsorship to send as many members as possible, looking at GIZ and other partners to see if they can fund as many youth as possible to come and exhibit their products, meet investors, engage with the AfCFTA Secretariat, give their views on the protocols that are coming out very soon for everything to be harmonized. So the AfTA Secretariat is trying to create a very good relationship with the women of Youth of Africa. And that should tell everybody that the inclusiveness for women and youth in the African Free Continental Trade is something that is very, very possible. And I can tell you that I had a private meeting with His Excellency Wamkele Mene, the Secretary General of the African Free Continental Trade Area, and we discussed a lot. And then you can see that he's a youth person, you know, he's very much interested in women and youth. I remember when we went to Tanzania, there was a cocktail that was organized for all of us. And then all the presidents, because we had former president of Malawi, who was a lady, the vice president of Uganda, who is a lady, the vice president of Liberia, who is also a lady, and so many other ladies, presidents, and then former presidents, high-level women, they all came for the event. But when we came to the cocktail, we didn't get any of these high-level people attending the cocktail. So when His Excellency wanted to come for the program, they told His Excellency that they are only left with the youth and women who are there, who are at the cocktail. Then no dignitary was there. Then His Excellency told them that I am youth and woman person, and as such, I want to be with them because they are the future of AfCFTA. That's the remarks that he made. So he's somebody who is very much concerned about inclusiveness of women and youth when it comes to African Free Continental Trade Area. And so as such, I would not talk much. I will end here. Some people say that I always say I will not talk much, but I always talk much. So I'll end here. Allow our various participants, if they have any questions to ask concerning the African Free Continental Trade Area or the After Young Entrepreneurs Federation and how women and youth can be included in the AfCFTA, I would gladly answer it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sita, for that brief information given to us. Thank you so much. I think we've heard quite a lot about the conversations that are going on all around. If you're here and then you have questions for Sita regarding what he talked about, please, the Q&A button is there, kindly use it. I'm going to read it out to him. But I'm also going to ask a question. Sita, you mentioned originally in your submission, and you said that trade is already happening, okay? The thing is, I mean, practically, trade is happening. We've seen our mothers. I mean, as a young girl, my mother was already into trade. I know a lot of people who didn't even go to school are in trade. They are trading from different parts of the world. Some go to Dubai, some go to China, and all that. Now, people want a narrowing down of the essence of the free trade area, because if trade is already happening, then what is the bottom line essence of AfTA? Now the question is, what are the practical policies? What are the practical policies that are being put in place? You mentioned there are policies that are being redefined, policies that are being worked on. What are some of these specific policies, and what is the effect that is going to have on young people's businesses in Africa? And then if you are not a business person, probably you are a corporate person, does the Africa free trade, the African continental free trade area, does it matter to you? Is it of essence to you? I would want you to answer these two questions for us.
The issue with, thank you very much, but I'll try to answer the questions. Though, you know, the issue with AfCFTA is that it matters to everybody. Why am I saying so? If Ghanaian traders are not doing well, or they're not taking advantage of AfCFTA to improve upon their product, their packaging and everything, and they are not industrializing. We are not adding value to our raw materials. Goods will be imported from South Africa into Ghana. That means that South Africa will make more revenue than Ghana, and they will afford to create more jobs for the youth of South Africa, more than the youth of Ghana. We have issues with Nigerians coming into Ghana to take our jobs. Just go to the magazine, go to the last time I was in Abosokan with their spare parts dealers, executives. Go to Abosokan here, meet them and see. Go to Circle. There was a time that traders had to be chased, Nigerians had to be chased away from Circle. A time is coming, once you're an African, you've registered your business in Nigeria, you can come to Ghana, you will not register business again. Come and set up and trade. In that case, the jobs for Ghanaians will be taken by Nigerians, which will be legal anyway. If Nigerians decide to come here and set up their businesses, employ only Nigerians, that's fine. They can produce and export to different parts of Africa. That is fine. So we are saying that if we, I'm just using Ghana as an example, it's the same thing with every African country, because once others are producing and bringing to your country, they are benefiting. You also have to produce and send to another country to also benefit. So you cannot stop. I remember we're having a discussion because the Gabon government wanted us to organize some consultants to come and train the youth of Gabon about the opportunities that African Free Continental Trade has and develop their skills so that they can match up to the after expectations, which was good. And they are saying that if their youth and their entrepreneurs are not abreast with AfCFTA and they come on board AfCFTA agreement, it will not inure to their benefits. It will not benefit them. So it's simple. Fortunately or unfortunately for Ghanaians and some of the African countries, about 47 African countries have signed and ratified the AfTA agreement as at now. That simply means that whether you like it or not, on paper or in principle, trade is supposed to happen. Though we know that there are certain fiscal and non-fiscal challenges in terms of trading, but then or movement of people. But then a time is coming that you cannot say that because Ghanaian youth or Ghanaian entrepreneurs, we are not producing anything sent to South Africa. We don't want South Africans to bring their products here. So certainly it is going to affect everybody. So we have to know and we have to be able to take advantage of it. So that is the first part of your question. Now, the second part of the question, I remember this question was asked me in Nigeria, and I didn't answer it. I didn't answer it because, you see, one, I don't have the draft protocols. Two, the draft protocols have been sent to the trade ministers conference for them to approve. So now, until those draft protocols are approved, I can only tell you what our expectations are or what we expect the draft protocols to be. That is the only thing that maybe I can tell you, but I cannot tell you what's in the draft protocol because I may say something that has been changed or that will be changed when the protocols are out. And it means that I will not be honest with the participants. So I'm only going to tell you what we expect or some of the inputs that we give. We are asking for preferential treatments when it comes to women and youth. For example, if we have to, the process involved in getting the certificate of origin, either they facilitate it faster for youth and women, or if there's any amount that is there that youth and women have to pay, we have to get special rates for that particular one. In terms of movement of products from different African countries, even though they are going to reduce the tariffs, we want special tariffs for women and youth. Now, though some of our colleagues have even suggested that even within the various African countries, we should be able to negotiate for more special, like cheaper ways of registering businesses from, say, Ghana, Registered General Department. If a youth is going to register business, instead of taking the person 500 Ghana cedis, why don't you take the person 200 Ghana cedis? All these things are things that are on the table that have been suggested, but the Conference of Trade Ministers, they have to adopt it and come out with a finalized one. Then we can look at it and be able to confirm it or register or disapproval to some of the things that are being raised. But for now, I can only tell you that we want the protocols to come out. We are asking for certain special conditions that will be favorable for the young African entrepreneur. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sita. I haven't had any question yet from anyone. Can the participants see the question box, or they just do not have questions? That's okay. I'm going to ask the last question for you. I'm going to ask the last question, and then, or if we still don't have anything, okay, someone just raised their hand. Evans. I think Evans raised their hands. Evans, you can ask your question, please.
Okay, Sita, good afternoon. Your presentation was quite brief and very, very good. But my challenge is, how well are we sensitizing people within our state institutions to see the youth as being responsible? Because for me, I've suffered as a young entrepreneur getting approvals from state institutions, because whenever you are a youth and you have any ambition, when you step into offices, sometimes they see every youth to be irresponsible and they can't trust certain documents into your hands or give you certain permits to operate businesses. So how well are we sensitizing our leaders to believe in us as youth, that we can also take up higher challenges, and also they will be willing to support us by giving us permit to operate businesses that are very challenging? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. What you are saying is just the reality. This afternoon, I just tried to book an appointment with Dangote to meet him next week when he comes to Ghana for the AfCFTA Bank event, to which I have VIP pass to meet all the big dignitaries that have been invited into the country. I think the president of Ghana will be there. So the issue is that just last week, I have some investors who wanted to buy lithium. So I spoke to my contact in Zimbabwe. I know that the Zimbabwean government set up the first refinery for lithium. And I think everybody knows lithium is one of the most wanted mineral now in the whole world. In fact, for us, we know it's more expensive even than gold, because that's what they used to make the car batteries, the electrical car batteries, you know. So when I spoke to the lady in Zimbabwe, she told me that we cannot export because they've set up the first refinery, which I'm aware of. But then there's still exports. And I told her, how do we get the lithium from Zimbabwe and export it out of the country? He said, we have to meet a Chinese. There are some Chinese that have acquired the license. So we Africans, we don't have the license. And the Chinese man has come all the way from China to get all the permits and now exporting. The prices that were given to me, when I told my partner, they said it was very expensive. Yes, but it's expensive because they don't give access to African youth or just anybody to be able to have that kind of license. So I know what you are talking about. In Namibia, one of our members got 10,000 hectares of land to mine, but the challenge she went through before she's the first Namibian who was able to get the biggest mining license in Namibia. And since she got it, they have been frustrating her in operating the license, so that after some time that she doesn't use the license, they will take it back from her. Now, back in Ghana, the war is real. That's just what I want you to know. And I'm giving you like practical examples. Even me at the AfCFTA Secretariat, this one is a battle. When I first walked in there, especially the Ghana office, I had to fight certain people and I fought them seriously because it seems they don't always know. I don't understand. You know, we have so many people who are backward people. Sometimes they are there because they know certain ministers or some privileges that they got. When you walk in there, they look down on you. I've had opportunity to meet people at the Ghana AfCFTA office, and I have opportunity to reprimand and fire them. For me, I don't fear about firing people. If you do something that was not good, I'll tell you that this what you did was not good. So I reported one of the workers at the AfCFTA Secretariat to the national coordinator of AfCFTA because he thought I couldn't get. She thought I couldn't get him, and unfortunately for her, after what she did, the next day we had a program at Labadi Beach, and the man came to speak there. So immediately after his speech, I approached him and I told him that this lady prevented us from meeting you, this and that. So they usually tell us that we don't have anything for youth. We don't have anything for youth. That's what they kept on telling us. But we knew that AfCFTA cannot happen even without the youth. We know that. So it's a fight that we all have to fight, both the government side, and then I can tell you that it is worth it. Because when I had the invitation, this was Ghana office I was fighting, and I had invitation from the Secretary General of AfCFTA himself to a program. And the Ghana people were now asking, how did I get the invitation to the program, which they didn't get? Because even then, some of the people that were invited for the program were even from Trade Ministry, not from the National Coordinating Office, which is under the Ghana Trade Ministry. I'm using this as an example. So the fight is very, very real. And there are certain people still in the AfCFTA Secretariat that when the Secretary General asks me to meet, I'll tell him that I will not meet them because I know that they are working against the success of the whole project. So for the sensitization, it will take time. But I am telling you that with some of the strides that we are making, we've seen some. Let's all continue to join the train, like let's mobilize because there's power in unity and there's strength in unity. Once we are united and then we push it, I'm telling you that we will succeed. And until the youth of Africa are united, the leaders will always say that these youth, you don't have any, like you are useless. And when they need us, when it comes to voting and that kind of stuff, they will use the youth. And after they get their power, they will still think that we are irresponsible, we are this or we are that. And for somebody like me, for people who know me, when I go to the politicians, their offices, I tell them that I'm not here for your money. And I told AfCFTA Secretary, I told them that I've been working on this project. We have mobilized our own funding and we are doing our own project. So you can never dare take us for granted. And I've warned people in the office there. So I just want you to understand that it will change with time. And through all of us, our concerted efforts, when you have such problem, you can report, we'll take it up because by God's grace, we have links with the top there and ensure that it's being resolved. Some of the contracts, if you are youth, they will not give it to you. If you are a young Ghanaian and they see you like this, they will not give it to you. They prefer to give it to a different person who might not even be able to do it. So now Ghanaians even use foreigners to get projects here. Me, I know a Ghanaian who was organizing a program. He has to bring somebody from Europe and use the person to get contracts in order for the person to do. So this kind of perceptions, it cannot change in a day. It's only with time. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, okay, that's fine. I think my network was a little bit unstable for a while. Sita, I guess you're done with your explanation.
Yes, please, I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm sure that Ivan Sose was listening to you carefully, and not even only him, he asked the question on behalf of all the youth here and on behalf of all of us. And want to say a very big thank you, even for being able to, continuously break the hurdles and the barriers that prevent young people from becoming what they ought to be and helping us gain a voice. Sita mentioned earlier in a submission that fortunately, After Young Entrepreneurs Federation happens to be like a middleman for women and young people to reach the top. And so from here, I'm sure that you can always engage with Sita, engage with the Young Entrepreneurs Federation, anytime you have any concerns that has to do with young people and women. Sita, I want to say a very big thank you. For now, we don't have any questions pending. And so we're going to move on to our next conversation. And then along the line, if there are questions, we would wait until Mrs. Agnes Gifty Ajay-Sam is done with her presentation, and then we can ask all the questions together. I want to once again say thank you so much, Sita, and thank you so much, audience. Our second conversation, like I mentioned earlier, centers on the topic export readiness, which is a very interesting one. The thing is, we are discussing the African Continental Free Trade Area, and if that is the focus of discussion, you know that it simply means we are also trying to present Africa as a collective unit, like a unit, giving Africa that power, the power in numbers. If you're looking at what makes China powerful, if you're looking at what makes India powerful, you're talking about the numbers that they have. And like they always say, Africa is the future, because everybody's looking down to Africa. Why? Because in a few years to come, we know that the power that we will hold as far as economic transactions are concerned is unmatched. And that is why everybody is coming down to Africa. The question is, how ready are you as a young business owner? How ready are you as a female entrepreneur? How ready are you as a person in Africa to take advantage of this particular after the free trade area, to take advantage of the free trade area? Are you export ready? Most of our people want to take their products beyond their existing countries. Now, exporting, like we all know, is a very rewarding way of doing business. It can be very complex, as well as it can also be very challenging. However, it is very rewarding. Now, we want to have a conversation on export readiness. How ready are we to take our products beyond Ghana? How ready are we to take our products beyond Nigeria? How ready are we to take our products beyond South Africa? And what are the nitty-gritties that we need to come to terms with if we want to export the services and the products that our companies offer? To help us with this conversation, we have the best of the best, Mrs. Agnes Gifty Ajay-Sam. I'm going to read briefly a brief profile of Mrs. Ajay-Sam, and then she quickly takes it up from here. So like I mentioned earlier, Mrs. Agnes Gifty Ajay-Sam is the Director of Marketing and Promotions at the Ghana Export Promotions Authority, known as GEPA. And she has 23 years of experience in international trade promotion, having headed various departments at the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, including trade information, research, administration, GEPA Impact Hub. I mean, I visited the GEPA Impact Hub with the female entrepreneurs we had. It was a phenomenal opportunity. Thank you so much, Mrs. Ajay-Sam. Amongst other roles, Mrs. Ajay-Sam provides advisory and diagnostic services for women in trade and small to medium enterprises in general. She was the national focal point person for the International Trade Center flagship program Access for African women in international trade in the early 2000s, and further worked to ensure the effective implementation of the She Trades programs for women-owned businesses in Ghana. She was one of the final 3 trainers for the National Export Strategy Consultant. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to, just like we gave to Sita a virtual applause, I want us to invite to take the stage Mrs. Agnes Gifty Ajay-Sam. Mrs. Agnes, kindly talk to us this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gifty, once again. And I want to thank my colleague, panelist or presenter, Sita, for the brilliant submission that you made. And I'm really happy to have listened to you. Like you said, this is the second time I'm meeting you. The first time you were brilliant, today too, you are so brilliant. So does it go to Gifty? You are very young, but you are bold and articulate and very, very knowledgeable. And then I'm happy to be working with the two of you on this, and I believe many other programs. Before I come to the issue of getting ready for export or export readiness so as to be competitive in taking advantage of the African market, I just want to recap the fact that the Africa offers us a 3 billion market, in trade markets or people. I mean, it's very, very important. About 3 billion people with a combined GDP of 3.4 trillion. And then of this, we can say that young Africans and SMEs led by women are the greatest of these numbers. Over 60%, of SMEs are run by women. And now we can see that the youth are coming. And importantly, a lot of business now is based on technology, and we can see that our youth is at the cutting edge of technology. And so for it to succeed, cannot leave out women, cannot leave out men, cannot leave out, the youth. And so before I go on to my main submission, I want to encourage everybody on this call right now to see the old and the new, if I may say so, as indispensable in this. I mean, it shouldn't be that the youth events, will be of the perception that, there's no opportunity for the youth, and then the old, system is fighting you. No, Africa can only grow and be sustained if the youth is encouraged. So wherever we are, we'll do our best to try and support the youth to become competitive. Now, I spoke about the big markets. I mean, trade is all about numbers, and trade is all about export. And to be able to export, you need to ask yourself certain questions. Why do you want to go into exports at all? Why do you want to trade, in Africa? Why do you want to trade with another country? There are a lot of opportunities in exports. To start with, you obviously get higher profits, like what Sita just mentioned, the mineral that they want from Zambia. It will obviously come with higher profits than if it is sold in Zambia. There's opportunity for higher profits if you export. And we also know that when you get a good exports market, it is safer, because you are able to now spread, your knowledge, your products to so many other countries. And so obviously, it is good to export. But the question we always ask, can I export? Do I have a strategy? What are the costs involved? And are you committed to long-term export development? Export is costly. It's not, like selling the local markets. If I'm selling, for example, chocolates in Ghana here, the packaging is different. I can just sell to somebody in the next office or in the other building, and I'm not so much mindful of the packaging. I'm not talking about the packaging on the chocolate, but I'm talking about like the bigger packaging, for taking it across borders. And so it costs a lot of money. And so if you want to go into exports, whether in Africa, with Africa or beyond Africa, there are certain things you need to know. You have to ask yourself, do you have the capacity? Can you produce in volumes? You have said that Africa is a 1 billion market. One of the big chocolaters or the chocolate manufacturers, he has said that if he gets Nigeria alone, he will not even think of going to the US or the UK. But as I speak now, going to even Nigeria comes with so many challenges. So exports competitiveness is about having the right capacity, being able to supply the export markets. I also spoke about resources. Do we all have the resources required? Not just the money resources, which is a big issue for both women and then the youth. Do you have the necessary resources? And then there's one thing that is so important, the mindset. Do you have the mindset to be able to export and become competitive? Okay, so to be export ready, one needs to be able to deliver a marketable product or service on a global scale at a competitive price. That is one area that we suffer from, whether you're a woman or you are the youth from Ghana and I believe Africa. Competitive pricing is such a big issue. Now, you need to assess yourself to see your readiness for exports. Do you have the export motivation? Do you have the motivation to say that I'm going to export to even Nigeria here? It takes sometimes about 3 months before you get your money back. Do you have the motivation to be able to enter into exports? The management of your business, how committed are you? I've already spoken about production capability, but what about marketing? And then the strategy. In fact, strategy is everything. You need to have a strategy, and that's one thing that we all fail, whether it's an informal business or formal business, we fail at developing strategies, planning for our business. And then the international business environment. In fact, is one of the key challenges for the export markets. What kind of international business environment do you have? Sita alluded to it when he mentioned standards. Standards are such a big issue, and it will surprise you to know that even in Africa here, amongst ourselves, if we want to trade, there's a lot to do with standards. There's a lot that is required about standards. So the business environment, are you able to understand and be able to comply with the business environment? Just in Nigeria here, if you want to export there, you have a product that is FDA certified, a product that is GSA certified. You have to also meet Nigeria's standards. They call it NAFDAC. And it's not easy at all getting NAFDAC certification. So even knowing the business environment and being able to comply, sometimes it's an issue for, exporters, let alone a young entrepreneur or a woman exporter, a woman SME exporter. And so as any business at all, you need to examine your SWOT. Our SWOT is important in all areas of our lives. What are your strengths for the exports that you want to do? Let's say, for example, you're a young entrepreneur. You want to go to Cote d'Ivoire, to export. You make artifacts. You want to go to Cote d'Ivoire, and Cote d'Ivoire is your main market. What are the strengths you have? Let's say you have access to the wood to do what you want to do. You have the technical expertise that is needed for the production of your products. So that is a key strength. Now it comes to opportunities. Now you find out that Cote d'Ivoire needs, what you are producing. And so that's a big opportunity for you. Now let's talk about the internal ones. You want to go to Cote d'Ivoire? What are your weaknesses? Are you able to, for example, speak French? It is a weakness to you. So you need to assess that. Can you speak French to be able to communicate easily? Those of us in Ghana, and I believe Nigeria, and other English-speaking countries, and even our colonial masters, England, the English, unlike those who speak French, we have a key weakness of not being able to, communicate as well in French as the French people are able to do. And so sometimes, Sita, I believe that you can agree with what I'm saying right now. When you go to the AfCFTA office, you have a lot more people from the French-speaking countries than from the English-speaking countries. It has become both a weakness and a threat to us. So it's something we need to evaluate to be able to do exports, to get ready for the export market. So your strength, you build on it. And then the opportunities, you invest in areas of opportunity. Your weaknesses, you try to show it up by trying to work on it. And then you monitor your threats to be able to, go to the exports, to be able to go to the export markets. Now, let's say that you've been able to acquire all these things that you need to do to exports. One thing that you need to become very, very competitive on the market is also find out, or let me just come to the other way. Let me take it this way. We have people who have done their SWOT and they are ready for the export markets and all that. But one key challenges a young person, a woman would usually face is access to information. Access to information. It will surprise you to know that in terms of export information, it is easier to get information on markets in Europe, in the US and Asia. And so when you go and use a research tool like ITC's trade map, it is easier to get information on what, let's say, UK is exporting, how much they are prepared to buy from you than in Africa. So access to information has become very, very key. Access to information is one of the key hindrances, for young people, for women, for all SMEs in trying to access export markets. And so for us in the public sector or the public space, we try as much as possible to provide the information for you so that you can know where the risks are and what to do. And then I think Gifty mentioned that they've come to our GEPA Impact Hub, and we want to encourage all the youth, come to us. We have the GEPA Impact Hub, where there's a lot of information that you can access for your businesses. So access to information is one key hindrance to becoming competitive on the export market. Now we come to the big one, which is access to finance. And for women and their youth, it's even bigger. When you go to the banks, for example, they say that before we can give you money, you need to show that you have collateral. When you haven't exported before, why are you going to get the money to get the collateral? It's just a big issue. That is why we are happy that the AfCFTA has one of its key issues it is resolving, and key areas it is trying to build capacity on is getting access to finance for our exporters. And if you look at the 7 clusters under the BIAT is boosting intra-African trade. One thing that features very strongly is access to finance. And so you're looking at the banks, how ready are they to give us the money? And so at GEPA, for example, we are collaborating with a number of banks to support our SMEs to have access to finance so that they can build their capacity in all the areas required to become export ready. Now we're also looking at even access to markets, access to the market itself. We spoke about access to information, then access to finance and access to the market itself. Africa is big, 1.3 billion market, but where is the market itself? We are all doing shea butter. Where can I export my shea butter? Where can I export my artisanal chocolate? The good thing is that the market is there, but where can I go? And so at Ghana Export Promotion Authority, we have identified certain key markets for certain key products. And we have seen that a country like Kenya, for example, they have a lot of processed food, but they also need, for example, our processed foods. And I'm happy to note that when I attended a young African entrepreneurs, I realized that a lot of people are already into processing of foods. When we go to Kenya, I realized that they process a lot of food stuff, but they also like a lot of the food stuff that we are doing. And so Kenya is one market, for example, for our foodstuffs. Our chocolate is one of the key markets. South Africa is a key market for both our foodstuffs and also our chocolate products. And so what I'm saying here right now in closing, we want you to work with us. Ghana Export Promotion Authority, work with us. Work with the AfCFTA National Coordination Office so that you can get access to information, so that you can get access to markets. We are in the same building with the Ghana Exim Bank. The Ghana Exim Bank is here to provide financing for our exporters. Please work with the institutions, work with us, so that you can be able to get access to these key three things: access to information, access to market, and access to finance to be able to become export ready. And we believe that when we have been able to meet these three areas, we'll be able to take advantage of AfCFTA to become competitive and to be able to get all the opportunities for our women and then our youth. Let me also mention that AfCFTA itself, as an agreement, is very, 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 very much serious about helping women and the youth. And then the protocol on women and the youth, I believe, is almost ready. In fact, there's a whole schedule to the agreement on women and the youth. Let us go there, read about it, and take advantage of the opportunities. When you come to GEPA, we have what we call the National Exports Strategy Development. It's a strategy. I said in the beginning that one of the reasons why we fail at things we do is lack of strategy. A lot of the time, we don't have strategy when we are doing our businesses. We don't have strategy as small businesses. We don't have strategy as an institution. But at GEPA, we have seen this and we have come up with the National Export Development Strategy. And in the strategy, we have key areas of support for women-led businesses as well as for the youth. And building on that, we support youth businesses. You know, in 2020 and 2021, we supported about 20 young businesses. We trained them in farming, for exports, and by attaching them to big exporters for about 6 months. They learned about the rudiments and the requirements of export marketing as far as agriculture is concerned. When they graduated, we gave them about ½ acre of land each. We supplied them with key implements to do farming. And the good thing is that the exporters that they learn from are ready to be off-takers. I said that access to market is a key issue. These big exporters are ready off-takers for the produce that the young people are producing. And I'm happy to share with you that some of them are already exporting. This young 20 people we trained in 2020 and 2021. When we realized that it was a big program and many people want to get on board, we extended it to 100. And so last year, in the beginning of this year, we are working with about 100 youth, and we have also extended the sectors, not just agriculture. We have crafts. We also have processed products. Those in the crafts, we have a lot of them coming from from the northern sector, from the central region, where we have a lot of crafts. And so they are currently under training. They've been attached to the established exporters. And when they graduate, we'll give them the key implements for them to start exporting. And they would also have ready market for their products. We believe that we'll be able to expand from the 100 to about 150 or 200 in the years as we go by to support the youth. When it comes to women, knowing very well that women, are the key drivers of change, knowing very well that women have a lot of challenges as businesses because of all the things I've mentioned early on: access to market, access to information, access to money. And Ghana Export Promotion Authority is supporting women-led businesses in so many ways. We have the popular Women Icons program. We have done about 4 already, where we support women businesses, both locally and internationally. And this women, we get one key woman from every region to act as a motivating factor for other women to learn from and to be spurred on. We did the first one in Greater Accra. We've been to the central and western regions. We've been to the Ashanti region, and then we just finished with Eastern region. The objective is to encourage women-led businesses to also up their businesses and up their game. We did a lot of work with ITC, with the She Trades, with the Access for Women in International Trade, and even with Canada. They have a program called WIT, being run by Trade, that's CFO Canada, Trade Facilitation Office of Canada. And so in so many ways, we have specialized programs for the youth and for women-led businesses, not just Ghana Export Promotion Authority, AfCFTA, and many of the institutions we work with, home and abroad. We see that it's important to support women-led businesses and the youth. And the AfCFTA itself has a lot of opportunities for women in businesses. So I want to encourage our businesses online or on the call that, please, this is your time. Some of us are already almost in our 60s, but the youth of these days, you are so knowledgeable. You are so much, what should I say, in terms, especially with technology, which has become key in business these days. Please come and work with us. We are ready to work with you so that we can make AfCFTA the Africa we want by being able to take advantage of all the opportunities that are being created by the many, many protocols that we have in the system right now. So I want to end and then wait for additions or wait for you to ask questions, or if you have comments to make, I'll be very happy to answer your questions or to take the comments that you make. So I think I've ended for now. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Agnes Gipti-Sameje. That was elaborate. Thank you so much. Just like Mrs. Ajay-Sam said, if you have a question here regarding exports, if you have a question that you want to throw at Mrs. Ajay-Sam, kindly do so now, because we are going to be wrapping up very, very soon. If you also had a question for CETA and you didn't get to ask, please, you could still go ahead and then ask your question anyway. I think regarding the funding you talked about, I think you really provided a lot of resources to most of our people. Mrs. Ajay-Sam talked about the Ghana Impact Hub, a lot of information. Of course, one of the major barriers to this whole expansion game is access to information. We realize that even for me, who works with quite a number of female entrepreneurs, one of the things that you realize most of these people lack is the access to information. as to whether they are not looking for them or they are looking for information in the wrong places, or they don't even know that such information exists. Recently, I attended the Head of States Awards, and fortunately, the Presidential Advisor for Gender, Dr. Angela Asante, was around, and so I was talking to her regarding some of the things we are doing at West Lion Co, even regarding the women. And she quickly also mentioned another support unit by the Ghana Ghana Enterprises Agency, the GEA. I think currently there's a funding that is going on being released for women and then young people. So if you're here and then it has to do with funding, you could also access, I think they're giving priority to women-owned businesses and also priority to young people who own businesses, or you own a greater part of the business, then you qualify for these funds that are being, distributed all across. I'm sure after this conversation, you could get in touch and then we could provide you with some of the links and how you can get access to these people. I'm still waiting for any of your questions. If in the next few minutes, if we don't have questions, it means that we are so satisfied with the information that have been provided by the two experts that we have here, even Mrs. Agnes Gifty Sam, who happens to be the Director of Marketing and Promotion for being able to, give us your attention, be with us for the past 1 hour and some minutes, and then listening carefully to what we had to offer. I would say that the webinar you're seeing has been organized by West Lion Co, which happens to be an entrepreneurship hub and a female venture builder that helps accelerate the growth of African female entrepreneurs in diverse capacities. Our offices are North Legon, that's if you're in Ghana. North Legon, directly opposite Wisconsin University is where our office is. We also provide office spaces for teams of different sizes. And so if you own a company, if you work in a place and you need an office place to work from, definitely you could reach out to us and then we can be of help. Okay, so someone is asking, how can she meet Mrs. Gifty Ejay Sam? Someone is asking, how can she meet you, Mrs. Gifty Ejay Sam? Would you be able to answer her?
Yes. So like I was rightly introduced, I work with Ghana Export Promotion Authority. We are in the same building as the Africa Continental Free Trade. And I think you can share my number with them also, my number with them so that you can very easily reach me. And as I said, I also do a lot of diagnosis on SMEs and their businesses. It's part of the work we do here. And so I'll be able to help you with your business, how to diagnose, and get it ready just for export markets or for business in Ghana. And so please share my number with them and or come to our office on the 10th floor of the Africa Trade House. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mrs. Agnes Gifted. I think someone has a question. Evans again. Evans, I'm giving you the permission to ask a question.
Hello, Madam Agnes, thank you for your presentation. Yeah, during your presentation, you made mention of standardization of our product. And I wanted to ask, is there no single window benchmark for assessing the standards of products across maybe within, is there no policy within the AfCFTA that helps to standard products that will be accepted within all the member states? And also secondly, you said access to information. Information, the difference between a thriving business and the one that's not thriving. my point of view is information, because if you have information, you are able to strategize and get the best out of the market. And you know, we the youth, we are now into this social media and online marketing more. So I would also like to encourage the GEPAD to also do social media sensitization about the services that you have, so that we can also patronize your services. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Evans. Your questions are very apt. Now, about the standards harmonization you spoke about. In fact, if you read the AfCFTA agreement, it is one of the areas that is hammered very, very, very strongly. And so, because it's a big issue, harmonization of standards. You have a product that is accepted in Ghana, and then you go to another country and it's not accepted. And so there's something that AfCFTA is trying to establish called ASO, ASO, Africa Standardization or Africa Standard Organization. That is whereby if a product is already standardized in, let's say, Ghana, it doesn't have to go through all the nitty-gritties of standardization, except where maybe language on the labeling and all that. And so that is one of the key issues Africa is working on right now. It's very, very important that we really harmonize our standards. Otherwise, it will not make us competitive. It will really derail the effective implementation of AfCFTA. If every country you are going to, you have to be comply with all kinds of different, requirements. So the first step for any and everyone is to ensure that you meet your local, standards. You meet it. So if it is food, it must be FDA certified. You want to export, you must also meet the standards required for that product. Sometimes they will even ask that you should also have other things like rainforest certificates. I mean, to meet the standards of the market, that particular market. As far as you are concerned, meet all the local standards and be ready so that as soon as the harmonization bit comes into process, then we are ready. Know that if you want to export to a place like Angola, where they speak Portuguese, if everything is in English, it may be a bit difficult for them. So much as we are all looking to do all that standardization, you also have to do your work very well. Now, the second question about social media and online marketing, that's also a very good question. And if you follow Ghana Export Promotion Authority very closely, you realize that we are very active on LinkedIn, on Facebook business, on Twitter and Instagram, because we know that that has become a key mode for communication in business these days. But we also come here, we have a section on services where they work very closely with the Accra Digital Center to help young people to develop and market their technological skills. We've already done about 2 programs with them. And I believe this year we will have another big program with them, because we know that when it comes to technology, Africa is already on a cutting edge. In fact, the young or the youth people who are exporting right now, many of them have very interesting websites. The way they market their products is almost par excellence as compared with the very traditional ones. So we are doing something, Evans. I want to believe that maybe we can do a bit more, but we are not completely not doing anything. We are doing something, but we will take on board the new suggestions you give to us so that we can only continue to grow and sustain what we know is best for us as youth and as women-led SMEs. Thank you.
Evans, are we good? Okay, that's fine. I'm sure that was very accurate from Mrs. Agnes Gipti Ejisam. We are wrapping up in a bit. If you still have a question for any of our speakers, please let us have them now. or else it would have to be asked another time, probably after we are done with the session. But it's true, if you're following GEPA, you realize that they are very active on most of the social media platforms. And so then that again comes to us. Are you following them? Okay, so if you're not following the right organizations on social media, and probably you're only following celebrities, then you will not be able to get information that is pertinent to your business growth. So it is key that even as young people, even though we are on social media, we should be careful and we should be very intentional about the things that we are following. We should make sure that we are concerning ourselves with things, organizations, institutions that have, direct impact on the things that we are doing. And so if you don't follow the Ghana Export Promotion Authority online, please do so. I would also want to ask Sita how active the After Young Entrepreneurs Federation is on social media. If Sita could also tell us that, and how people can follow you to be able to gain access to information.
Okay, for me, I always accept the fact that we are not very active on social media as a federation.
Okay.
We're working around the clock to get it activated as much as possible. But for me personally, I'm very active when it comes to social media. So you can share my contacts with them and my social media handles, Princita at Princita Sofo Isan or Sita Sofo Isan. And then my contacts. Right now, we are working on with one IT company to develop an application for African youth that will serve as a way to get them to even network with other young entrepreneurs across Africa. And then we coming out with something like an e-commerce platform. We're having a meeting with MTN. I've had a meeting with their group CEO. And then the MD for MTN Ghana. We are going to have a meeting with the team next week. We're working on a marketplace e-commerce platform for young entrepreneurs. And then, yes, so basically, we're going to be very active in the coming days. But then you can still check our Facebook page, After Young Entrepreneurs, and our LinkedIn page, After Young Entrepreneurs, and get connected. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sita. That's fine. So Sita says that in just a few days, they're going to be up and running with their social media platforms. Then again, if you're here and you are, whether you own a business or you don't own a business, and you're a young person and you are still not comfortable with social media and the fast pace that digital transformation is happening all across the continent and even beyond the continent, then I think that you will have to rethink your approach to living and your lifestyle, because now everything is digital, everything is going digital. And so you have to be on there. I'm asking, are you on LinkedIn as a person, as a professional, as a student, as a business owner? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you on any of the social media platforms? Most of us are asking about these institutions and organizations, whether they are online. You see, there's a frustration that comes with wanting information and not getting access to it. And it's same with your business. Does your business have a website? If someone wants to gain access to your products or your services, how easy would they be able to find you? If they're not finding you, then you are not doing the right thing, because there are a lot of people who are going to buy your product, are going to utilize your services, who are far from your domain. And so you would have to be able to provide your information online. Be active. It's not demonic. Social media is not bad. It's there for a purpose. And so let's take advantage of the age we are in, the digital transformation that is happening all around us. Let's take advantage of it and let us make things happen. I'm going to take our last remarks from our speakers, and then we'll call it an evening. Are we good? So first of all, I'll take our last remark from Sita, and then we'll come to Mrs. Ejay-Sam, and then we bring the webinar to a close. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Gifty, and thanks, Evans, and then all the participants. I want to thank Madam Agnes. I was also learning a lot, learning about some of the opportunities that our members stands to benefit. And then I would have actually invited our members, but because I didn't get the link for the general members, I was not able to share it with my members. So unfortunately, they couldn't benefit from this. So I'm looking at another session where we get AfCFTA members from Ghana to have such a session on how they can export their product and services. We're also working with USAID. We're gonna have a session to like that, how to export into the US market, you know. So I want to thank you, Gifty, for the opportunity. All of you are Gifty Annan, and then Gifty Agnes. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you, the two gifties and the participants, for such an opportunity. We look forward to more of such youthful and vibrant and interesting events for in the future. Thanks. Bye.
You're welcome, Caesar. Thank you so much as well. Next time we'll make available such information so that your people can participate. Thank you. Mrs. Agnes, Gifty Ejeta.
Okay. Once again, thank you very much for staying and listening to this discussion. As I said, Ghana Export Promotional Authority, we exist for you. We are there to help you in your businesses. So first of all, we want to invite you to come and look for information to do your business. The good thing is that where we don't have it, we know where you can get it. We have a very rich network, both domestically and outside of Ghana. Where we don't have, we can show you where you can get it. Secondly, also, I want to take the opportunity to inform you that in November, the AfCFTA is organizing the 3rd intra-African trade fair in Cairo. Initially, it was in Cote d'Ivoire, which was a bit easier for our youth and the women to go, but it has gone back to Cairo. But all the same, I believe we can go. But before you are able to attend the fair from us, first of all, you must have a registered business. 2, you must have, your product must have the necessary certification, and then you must be registered with Ghana Export Promotion Authority. What I do is that sometimes I tell associations like Young After Entrepreneurs Forum or West Leon Co. that you can also apply as a group, so that if not all of your members are going, if the group has a booth and they have products that meet the export requirements, I believe that it would seriously be considered. And then lastly, for now, we all know that Afri-Exim Bank will have their 30th annual general meeting in Accra next week, starting from Sunday. And GEPA is working with them to onboard ready companies onto the Mansa platform. The Mansa platform is a kind of trade information platform where you can put your products, where a prospective buyer from Africa or another African country can see your products. And once you're able to raise on Mansa, it helps with payment. It helps to migrate you easily onto the PAP system, which is for payment. All this information is available at Ghana Export Promotion Authority. Evans and the rest, we are here for you. We are not against the youth. We'll try to, make our services very much readily available and accessible to you. Maybe you may have 1 or 2 experiences that may not be so pleasant, but I tell you, a number of us are ready. And at GEPA as an institution, we are ready. We work with the youth. We have a lot of programs for the youth and women-led businesses. We believe that both to CETA and West Lion Co, this is only the beginning of the deeper collaboration we are going to have to promote trade amongst the youth and women-led businesses in Africa and in Ghana. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was Mrs. Agnes Gifty Ejeta, who happens to be a mentor to me personally. Very, very supportive of me. She's always been supportive, helping me every single time. And I want to say we are very grateful that when I called on you, you still made it a priority to be a part of us and to share your insights with us. We'll continue to, engage with our people. And then what you mentioned, even about the events that is taking place in Cairo, I will also consider that. and look at being able to, registering as a group to help most of our people come on board. I'll definitely get in touch with you concerning that. I think we're gonna end our conversation here today. Once again, my name is Gifty Boatema, and most of you already know me. And I want to officially once again express our appreciation for your time and for your attention. Until we meet again next time, please, let's keep making Africa proud. Enjoy your evening, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.